What's up again, everybody? Today we're going to do a full-on breakdown of the Commoner format. The Commoner format is a format that I've been playing for the past month or so that I've really enjoyed and I think has the potential to have an absolute breakout year next year in the world of Flesh and Blood at conventions, at large callings and other tournaments. I think this is going to start to become one of those formats that people actively seek out and play because of its casual nature. So in this video, we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the different ways that you can build a Commoner deck. We're going to talk about variants you might want to shift in on the format itself. We're going to go all the way through it. Before we get too far into it though, I do want to say that if you enjoy this video or if you learn something from it, if you get any value out of it, please consider hitting the like button. I hope that if you do that, more people will see this video and decide to pick up the format for themselves. Okay, so let's break down the Commoner format and what it actually means. Commoner is very simple, and in fact, it has its roots all the way back in early days of Magic the Gathering in the Pauper format, and it's basically this. You can only build your deck with common cards. It's very simple, it's very easy to understand. You're literally only playing with common cards. Now, I will say this, there is a caveat that has to be made in this game, or a couple of caveats that have to be made in Flesh and Blood for this format, and that is, do you apply that same restriction to the heroes in the game? Because there are certain heroes in this game that are at the rare rarity. They're printed at rare, and those heroes can be found in Crucible of War. So if you just strictly label it only common cards across the board, then you don't have those heroes available. So you can make the change here, which I've put, the restriction doesn't necessarily apply to heroes. So in other words, you can run any hero that you want. If you wanted to do what I did in one of my recent Commoner events and play Cavdaean, Trader of Skins, he's a rare in the Crucible of War set. We say you can do that, but you keep your deck to common cards only. And normally this format is played in Blitz, and Blitz is a mode where you build a 40-card deck with 0 sideboard cards, except for you have equipment that you can sort of side in and out depending on the matchup. So that's generally what Commoner looks like, those general rules. Now, I will say this, there are some good variants out there, and there's reasons why there's variants out there. So let's look at the variants first before we talk about the benefits, the drawbacks of the format, and why you should probably give this a try and encourage your LGS to run some Commoner events. Now, the variants here are listed. Channel Fireball really made the first, I guess, variant that I heard of, with, of course, Commoner being only common cards. There are certain reasons why you'd want to include some rares. There are certain heroes that really like rare effects. There are certain heroes that really need rare card effects to do certain things. And so there was a sort of a change or a tweak to the format at one of the callings wherein they allowed 6 rare cards to be included in your deck. So you're going to be building your deck with all rares, or all commons, I should say, but you can now use 6 rares within the deck as well, and that does open up some deck building possibilities for a couple of heroes that are a little bit short. They draw the short end of the straw, we'll just put it that way, when it comes to only commons, and this helps them out a lot. Now, a variant that we've been running in my Discord where we've been playing weekly Commoner tournaments is you're allowed rare heroes already, also rare weapons from Crucible of War. Now, we aren't doing the 6 rares in the deck, but I think we're going to try it because it does open up some deck building possibilities. But this also allows you to play Cavdaean and the only weapon that Cavdaean has access to, which is Talishar the Lost Prince. It also allows you to play some other things as well. Technically, I will even say this, we just open it up to every hero. I shouldn't have even put the word rare on there. We open it up to literally every hero. So like legendary shapeshifter hero Shiana, which I, for some reason, have just sitting on my desk right here. You can play Shiana in this format because she is a hero, and we say, you know what, let's just be able to run any hero that we want. So I like the choices that we've made and the changes that we made to the format there. We may even tweak it a little bit more. And then, of course, this third one is really important. You can institute a ban list for cards or heroes within your group, and I want to encourage this. This is a format that is very casual in nature and also very moldable. It's malleable. It's not something that is set in stone. And in fact, LSS has not even really put out official rules for this format. It's just a format that's kind of come up through conventions and callings from this past year of 2021. And so including a ban list is something that you and your play group can just do for yourselves. You can pick, hey, we're just going to ban Briar. I don't feel like playing against Briar. Or we're just going to ban Rosetta Thorn or something like that, right? I wonder if you know what's popular right now. It depends on when you watch this video. If you watch it like 8 months from now, if Briar and Rosetta Thorn are still a thing, but maybe you ban those. I don't know. Maybe you choose to ban something else, but it's up to you, and it basically is open for your choices to tweak the format in whatever way you see fit to have fun. Now, the benefits again of this format, and there are many benefits. I just listed a few here. This format is like perfect for new players. It is so easy to pick up these cards and to play Commoner Blitz because oftentimes Commoner cards, or I should say common cards in general, are oftentimes templated or created to teach you the rules of the game. So for example, if I look here at Sharpened Steel, this yellow Sharpened Steel, I'll put it on the screen, is very easy to understand. It's one line of text. It's got the word go again, so you can explain go again to your player that you're playing against if they don't know how to play the game. And it does a very simple effect. There's not a ton of tricks there inherently in it. So this format is full of cards like that are templated to learn mechanics, learn keywords, and that's why it's a fantastic format for new players to pick up the game with. It's also super easy to build a bunch of really cheap decks. When all of your cards are common and when all of your cards are like 15 cents, you can go onto like an online retailer like a Channel Fireball, go to their marketplace, buy up a bunch of common cards and jam them all together and make a commoner deck. By the way, if you want to do that, there's a link in the description for you to use an affiliate code. You'll support this channel if you did that. You can also go over to TCG Player, do the same thing, but either way, it's super inexpensive to make these decks and then to just play them out. Plus, if you wanted to like really make them fancy, buy a bunch of foils for them. Those foils are all foil commons, so they're probably pretty cheap as well. And then finally, and this is why I love this format, because I am so this person. I don't know if you're this person, but I am so this person. It encourages you to use random offbeat generics, like offbeat class cards that you don't normally play. It just encourages you to try the new thing, the thing that's a little bit maybe not as powerful as the top tier stuff, because it's a casual format and everybody's restricted in the same way. And this is why I love this format, because you can try weird off the wall stuff. Again, I played a deck in this format. It was Kavdayan. He's not very well played or highly played, but he worked, and it was really, really fun. So lots of benefits to this format. Now, there are a few drawbacks as well, and one of those drawbacks is it's sort of one of those things that's subjective. Like, some people may not like this. These decks are not going to be nearly as streamlined as normal Blitz or normal Classic Constructed. They're just not. Like, inherently, they're not going to be as streamlined. The card pool for common cards right now is not the same as like a Magic the Gathering Pauper. It's not, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you don't like that. Now, if you don't like that, that's understandable. Everyone's kind of entitled to their own opinion, you know? But that is one thing you should keep in mind. These decks are not going to be perfectly streamlined, highly tuned in certain ways, because you took away rares and majestics and super rares and things like that, right? Also some heroes are just still very powerful. Like, Briar is still very good in this format because oftentimes the zero cost Briar just runs zero cost common generics, like just does what it wants to do. So that in and of itself can lead to some like, I don't really like this because it's still just Briar. Again, this is why we go back to the idea of instituting a ban list with your friends. You just say, let's just ban that one. We're running a common, like, casual format. Let's just ban that. Everyone build something else. And you go about doing it, and, you know, you're happy. Ira's still powerful. Kano is still a little bit powerful. I played Kano most recently and went 2-1 in our last format, but it's definitely a different feeling playing Kano without, like, rares, majestics, and legendaries. But like, those powerful decks are still pretty powerful, but they do come down a little bit. They come down just a little bit. I will say this too, and the third one is really one you should think about, and I think this is rectified by the 6 rare thing to a certain degree. You can't build certain archetypes. If you want to build OTK Viserai, you don't have access to many rune chant generators, okay? You don't have access to like the rare block that creates a rune chant, the reduced to rune chant. You don't have access to a lot of those things. So in instituting the idea of, well, you can build with 6 rares now, then you have more access to certain archetypes that are a little bit more open. Same thing with like Kasai, who's a rare hero from Crew, and the 2 Centauri Sabers. That's the reason that we decided to allow rare weapons from Crucible, because she just didn't have Centauri Sabers at her disposal, and so her effect was just not very useful in the format. Okay, I jumped over here so that we can talk through a few of my own personal commoner lists. I want to start with Kavdayan because this was probably the one I had the most fun with. I don't know, this one was really fun. There's a couple others that I had a lot of fun with, but a commoner list is going to look a lot like this because I'm, again, building with only common cards, and this is a really good example of building common cards where you can only use generics for the merchant hero because he doesn't have class cards. And so for me, building this deck, I used only generics, and it still played really, really well because the format is inherently a little bit slower, a little less optimized, which means there's room for this. And so for me, I built this deck, and I did a whole video on this deck over on Channel Fireball. So if you want to watch my full breakdown on this deck over on Channel Fireball, I'd highly recommend it. But I want to talk about a few things. There are some very powerful cards that everybody can run in Commoner, and those are Goliath Gauntlet. Goliath Gauntlet is incredibly good, just really, really good. Heart and Crossstrap, Hope Merchant's Hood. These 3 cards are oftentimes all run by just about every hero because this buffs a lot of your 2 attacks, and there's a lot of 2 cost or greater attacks in this format that are just used because we all have to dip into generics a little bit more. So we see a lot more play of like Demolition Crew, Regurgitating Slog, things like that that are commons that you may not normally see in like Blitz decks, but those are more played in this format, which means more people can play Goliath Gauntlet. Same thing with Heart and Crossstrap. It makes those attacks cheaper and oftentimes makes them free, which is really, really good. So you play this so that you can get like a free Demolition Crew down or a Regurgitating Slog, or even something like a weird like Brutal Assault or Stony Wooten Hog, which is an underratedly good card. Card is really, really scary to play against. Those are very powerful. And then everyone plays Hope Merchant's Hood because this is important. In this format, we only have access to Fate for Scenes and Sink Belows. I don't even know if I have Sink Belows in this deck. I don't think I do, interestingly enough. We only have access to Fate for Scenes and Sink Belows that are like the real powerful, like big hitter defense reactions. We also have Unmovable, but it's a little bit of a liability sometimes. So some people play it, some people don't. Nevertheless, these Fate for Scenes and Sink Belows are incredibly good in this format, and so if you can go and Hope Merchant's Hood, get rid of some cards and try to find those cards, then you stand a chance of like living that turn and going back at your opponent with something. Same thing with Snapdragon Scalers, really, really good for give and go. Again, just across the board, it's really good in Blitz, period. But this is the breakdown of what I did with this deck. It was a really, really fun generic only deck. And I do also want to say this: regurgitating Slog into Slogism is also a staple of the format, in my opinion, because everyone can run these 2 cards, and putting them together usually makes for like a 10 dominate or a 12 dominate, because you play the Slogism, paying the resources. It goes to the graveyard because you finish resolving the card and you gain go again, and it goes to the graveyard. And then you regurgitating Slog after that. The Regurgitating Slog gets the buff from Slogism and also banishes the Slogism you just used, so you get both effects. It's really, really good combo. Other decks that I've built myself, this is a Ranger list wherein you just run a bunch of arrows. Ranger's pretty good in this format because you can just make things pretty tall. You can run this and Lexi. I do like the inherent dominate effect that we get off of Azalea here, so you can make tall arrows that are already really strong. Things like Red Nimblism are good, plus increase the tension. Just use some take aims and just make things real, real big, which is really nice. This is a good thing for Fate for Scene and Sink Below. It's a good deck for both of those. So this is a fun little list. And again, all of these are common cards, which is great. And then, of course, we have... This was probably the deck I had the most fun playing, because I haven't gotten to play a lot of Dash in Blitz in general. And so this was an opportunity to play Boost Dash, and it was really, really fun. This was probably what I had most fun with. And this is all commons. There is one thing that I think I would change. I also made a video on Channel Fireball for this deck. I highly recommend you watch that because there are a couple of tweaks that I would make to this, namely some like Overblast changes and some other cards. But great deck to play as well, and the fact that it's all common means you can just snatch this up very cheaply and run it out there and give it a shot for yourself. If you've never played Boost Dash like I hadn't, this is a great format to try it out because you may be intimidated by going to an Armory event that's Blitz and going, I've never played this deck before, I don't know if it's going to work. Why would I want to pay $5, lose a bunch, and then go home sad? Well, this is a great format to try this out in. Try the deck out, play it. It's only commons. If you really enjoy the play style, then upgrade it from there. All right, and that brings us to our last points. Why play this format? Well, I've talked about it a lot through the video, but it's inherently casual. It leads to just laid back, fun, casual gameplay sessions with you and a bunch of friends. Because it's casual, you're more open to play like weird decks, underplayed heroes, things you've never tried before. And again, I think the biggest selling point for this format is it's an easy intro to new players. So if you have a bunch of new players that want to try the game out, organize one of these events. And I really say, I believe this so wholeheartedly. I think every LGS should run a commoner tournament like once a month. Straight up. I think you should run a commoner tournament with like no big prizes. Don't make it an Armory event. Just run a commoner tournament, charge a minimal fee to enter, and then give away some, like, I don't know, something simple like store credit, right? Because you're getting new players into the door, you're getting new players into the game, and you are allowing people to kind of flex their casual muscles a little bit. And to me, this game is very, very good at being competitive, but it's also really good at being casual. And if we could embrace that portion of the gameplay experience, I think more people will have more fun with it. So I highly recommend that you check out the commoner format. I hope this video was informative to you. If it was, please consider subscribing. That makes my day better. It makes this number go up too. Look how close we are to going to that other number. That's pretty good. And share this video or hit the like and the subscribe and push this along. As always, thanks for watching.